What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. Unfortunately, Carson could not be with us here today, so we're bringing back Chase, loyal fan of the podcast. Chase, what's up?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing just fine. But today, we're going to be doing all 8 NFL divisions, going through our winners, who we think is going to win the division, and places 2, 3, and 4 as well. If you want to know who we picked just to see who we won first place, you can look at the video link. It's going to be above us right now. That was our Sunday talk. We answered our division winners, but we wanted to break it down a little bit more. So we're going to get started. Chase is the first person. This is his NFL standings for the AFC East. Chase, let me hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see anyone other than the Bills winning this division unless something monumental happens, like a Josh Allen injury that keeps him out for the whole year, or just something freakish. But I think this is a pretty decisive division. I see Miami going, second. I feel like they're a really good team. They stepped up in the draft and free agency. And then New England at third. I mean, they're pretty. I don't know. They have so many questions around their team, so I feel like third's a good spot. And then the Jets are the Jets. They're gonna be last. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll just move on. We'll discuss here at the end of looking at these. So, did I skip the next one? Okay. So, Jose, you got the same one. Anything else you want to add on there?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I think the only given here is that the Jets are going to be last, and the Bills are going to be first. I could see the Dolphins, sneaking in, but I just think the Bills are proven, and there's no way I can put the Dolphins above them right now.
I understand, but who has the Dolphins above them? I do, and I'm here to cause some controversy. I think they had a pretty good offseason. They brought in Will Fuller. They bought in Waddle through the draft. They brought in Bernard McKinney, which was an underrated trade with the Texans. Very good tackling linebacker. Still got Howard and Jones at corner. Javon Holland's going to be a great safety for them, despite them cutting Bobby McCain. And now they got Jalen Phillips alongside Christian Wilkins, the rush the passer. I just think it's such a stacked defense. If the offense just falls, in the right pieces, it's going to work. But the only problem that it makes this a really risky pick is that they don't have a run game. But really, does any other team in this division besides really the Patriots have a run game? The Dolphins haven't had a 100-yard rusher in the last 33. They've had one 100-yard rusher, I think, in the last 2 years, and that was Savon Ahmed, who's basically a practice squad guy. So I think they really should have addressed the running game this offseason. Whether they should have thrown more money at Aaron Jones. They should have gone out and got Javonte Williams in the draft. I mean, I love the Jalen Phillips pick, but maybe they should have traded down, tried to go after a different edge, and take a later first-round pick to go after an ETN or Najee Harris. I just think not having a run game puts so much onto Tagovailoa, but we'll see. So if you guys are all good, we can move on to our next division.
Yep.
All right. So now, Chase, you got here the AFC North, obviously your division with your Steelers. You got them at third, but what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, it pains me to say, but I think the Steelers are going to be third. But I think they might tie with the Ravens. I have a feeling that, I don't know, I feel like the Steelers are going to be very underrated this year. I feel like people are counting them out too early. They did address the run game in the draft and the O-line. So I feel like if their offense clicks like it should, they'll be very good. But I got the Browns. I mean, the Browns they have too much talent to not be that good. Way too much talent. I mean, you saw flashes of it last year, and, they beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and they're very good. So, yeah. And then the Ravens, just questions about Lamar. I mean, they did go out in the draft and get, a couple wide receivers, I think, right? They got Bateman, and there was one
Tylan
more.
Wallace.
Yeah, him. And then, so hopefully they'll be good. I mean, and then we got the Bengals last. I mean, the Bengals have so many missing pieces to their team. So that's what I think. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to Jose's picks. The exact same.
Exactly.
Jose.
As a once said, the Browns gonna be the Browns. I could see them being first, but I could very well see them falling apart and finishing last. I think the same thing Chase said. The Steelers team is really underrated. We saw how hot they started last season. Obviously, I think they went up to 10-0, or was it 12-0?
It was 11. 11.
Yeah, they lost the 12th game. But I really think the Bengals have made some good improvements. I can't see them above any of these three other teams. It's a three-man race in this division. I could see all three of these teams having double-digit wins, or at least close to it, similar to how they were all in the playoff race last season. But I think the Browns are ultimately gonna they have the most talent of anyone else in this division.
Mm-hmm. And curveball, I got the Steelers finishing last. I know it's a hard bullet to bite, Chase, honestly, but I'll give my reasoning why. I think, they really should have gone after and drafted a better prospect quarterback like a Davis Mills this offseason, because I think it puts themselves in too much of a harmful future. And I don't see Big Ben playing up to the standard that he's been playing the last couple of years. Honestly, in 2018, had the seventh most all-time passing yards by a quarterback in a season. Then this last season, 33 touchdowns. But at the same time, I just feel like there's something wrong with that offense. There's no really bona fide star on that wide receiver core yet. There's still a lot of guys developing. I do, think that defense is going to be nasty, but they did lose a lot of guys in the secondary. And one of those guys in the secondary, one of the best slot corners in the league, Mike Hilton, is on the Bengals now. And the Bengals got a pretty good team. Just to look at the guys, they signed Trey Hendrickson to a deal. I don't really know how that's going to turn out, but still a solid pass rusher. Larry Ogunjobi from the Browns. Then obviously Jamar Chase, Riley Reif from the Vikings got signed there as well. And Chijobi Awuzie from your Cowboys, Jose. I think it's a pretty solid team, but I think the one thing holding them back, though, which will decide everything, is Zach Taylor as their coach. But, if Joe Burrow can have those connections with three guys who have very good potential next season, I think all three of those wide receivers on the Bengals has potential to go over 1,000 yards. So I like what we see from him, and I'm banking on a Joe Mixon breakout season based on this prediction.
Hopefully.
I think we'd all love it for fantasy. So we'll move on. We got the AFC South. Obviously, Carson Wentz was traded to the Colts this offseason. So unanimously, I believe we all took the Colts. But Chase, take it away. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, the Colts, they were, very good last year. And I felt like all they needed was security at that quarterback spot. And they have a great talent in Carson Wentz. Hopefully he can get back to his MVP numbers he was putting up there for the Eagles for those 1 or 2 years. So I think they'll be a very good team. Oh, sorry. And then the Titans, I have the Titans going second. They did lose a lot of, they lost Corey Davis. They lost their tight end. Oh, what's his name?
Jonnu
Smith. They lost him. But I still feel like they got it. You can't really lose with Derrick Henry. Their O-line's still very good. And then it's just come down to how good their defense is or how good their wide receivers play. And then I have the Jacksonville Jaguars going third. I feel like, oh my gosh, I forgot Trevor Lawrence. I don't know why I was going to say Trevor Wallace. Trevor Lawrence coming in. Yeah, I'm excited to see the Jacksonville Jaguars, see what Urban Meyer can do, and Tim Tebow getting on the field, see how that goes. Tebow mania. And then the Texans, I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win a game next year. I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, that's my predictions.
Well, hey, we all had the same AFC South predictions. So, Jose, I'll let you add on to it, and then we'll just basically move on to the next.
Obviously, the greatest argument for the Colts is that he's back. Wentz is back with Frank Reich. He's going to get back to that form. But if he does not, this is a super weak division overall because the Titans lost a lot of pieces. They're counting on guys like Caleb Farley to step up and be, top guys in their secondary. The Jacksonville Jaguars, it's the Jaguars. We saw how they were last year. All they did was add Trevor Lawrence, which we'll see how that pans out. But this division it seems so weak to me now. I mean, they've got the Texans, who are probably the worst team in the league besides the Lions. So
Yeah, I think you got to add on, just adding on to the Colts. I think their defensive line is going to be a top 5 one in the league next year. You added what people think may be the best pass rusher from the draft in Kwity Paye from Michigan. They got DeForest Buckner. They got Grover Stewart, who's a solid defensive tackle alongside him. And then you still got, some guy like Darius Leonard, who's one of the best linebackers in the league, who can just play almost at any dimension in the field, whether that be in the middle of the field or rushing the passer. So I think it's going to be in a fantastic defense. And I think that's going to be the thing that carries them. But we have to see them give the work to Jonathan Taylor. Don't give a running back committee. I think he's a star guy. We saw what he did at Wisconsin. He's one of the best running backs we've seen in college football in a while. So if they feed that man, there should be no problem with them winning this division.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite running backs coming out of what draft class is that? Is that
2019?
He was probably one of my favorites. I really wanted the Steelers to take him, but they didn't. So,
oh, sorry, 2020, because that was last year.
I thought he was a rookie.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just move on to the next division. We got obviously the AFC West, dominated by Patrick Mahomes and his Chiefs, but we do have a surprise in here we'll get to in a second. But Chase, you go ahead. I think pretty standard prediction for this division, but what do you have to say about every team?
I mean, I think this is how most people would predict it, other than one person in here. But the Chiefs, they bolstered up that offensive line. They went from a mediocre offensive line to probably top, I'd say 10 offensive lines. And then, I mean, they still have that insane offense and pretty good defense. And then you got the Chargers. I really liked what the Chargers did. They bolstered up that O-lineman with did they take Vera Tucker? Or no, they took Northwestern guy. What was his name?
Slater.
Rashawn Slater. They took him. See Justin Herbert come back. See if he can put up even better numbers than his rookie year. We got the Broncos at third. It just all comes down to that QB. Whoever is the QB, whether that be Bridgewater or Drew Lock, they have to perform. And if they can get, good numbers out of either of them, I feel like they could be a really good team. And then we got the Raiders. I don't know what the Raiders were doing this offseason. I have no idea what they were doing. Just a bunch of question marks. I mean, Mike Mayock, I don't know. That's just me. So, yeah.
Exactly. Former NFL analyst turned GM, questionable moves with getting rid of that, basically the entire offensive line, keeping what a couple years ago was definitely the weakest piece in Colton Miller. Don't know how it's going to work out. Derek Carr's not going to have those pretty pockets like he used to. But I'll just add on to Chase's, since we'll get into Jose's in a second. The one thing that does worry me about the Chargers is they did lose a lot of secondary help. Now, they lost Casey Hayward Jr. by releasing him, who was one of the best cornerbacks for this team and one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the league. Now it's up to Asante Samuel Jr., who a lot of people have faith in, given that his father was a former pro, to step up there and be that cornerback too for them on the outside. But Chris Harris Jr. is aging, but I think everyone's excited to see Derwin James come back, one of the most electric players in football, who we haven't seen on the field in over 2 years at this point. So, honestly, Melvin Ingram is still a free agent as of now, but I think Joey Bosa is just such a dominant pass rusher, just like his brother in San Francisco, that he should be able to have his own in that division, regardless of who's going against, whether that be Orlando Brown, Garrett Bowles, or Colton Miller. So, we'll get into Jose. Honestly, we're hinting at it. He just had to switch around. I mean, it's a very talented team. Don't get me wrong. Justin Herbert is one of the most talented quarterbacks as a rookie that we've seen in so long. They got pieces like Keenan Allen, some up-and-coming guys that we saw, like Jalen Gutton and Tyron Johnson, who played phenomenal towards the end of the season. But, Jose, I want to hear your piece for why you got the Chargers coming with first place in the AFC West.
Yeah, I just think they have enough talent to really match the Chiefs and compete with them at the highest level. I mean, you mentioned Asante Samuel, but the guy I wanted to highlight was Michael Davis. It's his fourth season in the league. Last year, he had 3 picks and 1 return for a touchdown with 63 total tackles. a guy that's stepping into that cornerback 2 spot, which will allow Asante Samuel to kind of, play in a lesser role and, really adapt to the NFL defenses. Obviously, Derwin James coming back, Chris Harris still the CB1. Joey Bosa's got to stay healthy though if they want to have a chance for this, because this is a tough division, especially running the ball. All the teams have great running backs. Justin Herbert, I'm expecting a huge jump, just like Josh Allen took last year. I'm expecting him to be up there in MVP votes. Obviously they bolstered their line. They've got Slater, they've got Bulaga, they've got Corey Linsley. Keenan Allen's going to have another great season. I mean, he was the most targeted receiver in the league last season and didn't even surpass 1,000 yards. I'm expecting him to do so this season. I'm not saying they're going to destroy the Chiefs or anything. I think it's going to be a situation where it's like the Chiefs tie a game with the Raiders or something and the Chargers win off of just like a technicality type joint. But yeah, I'm expecting them to be really good next year if they are able to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're not doing. What do we call them? Records.
Awards.
But, no records. Yeah. But what do you think either of them land at?
Around 12, 13 wins ish.
I would say if you were to give records for these teams, yeah, you'd have the Chiefs and the Chargers be in that 12 range. I think the Broncos could be a sneaky 9-8 team. But, now if the 17 win, and then I think the Raiders probably win 4 games, realistically thinking. And then they'll draft some Alabama guy who's supposed to go in the 3rd round. Or Clemson guy, excuse me. They'll switch
Clemson or Alabama, either one of them.
Low talent, high risk.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll move. Oh, well, that was there. So we'll move on, obviously, to the NFC least. We'll have Jose's strong opinion here since we each are representing a different division with our fandom. But we got Chase. He's got the no-name football team coming in first with the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles in respective order. Take it away.
Yeah, so I have the Washington football team going first. I just think they have an insane defense and a young defense at that too. Even though they lost their edge rusher, I forget. Oh my gosh, I can't remember names.
Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah, Ryan Kerrigan. Thank you, Liam. They lost him, but I still think they have a great defense. And then Fitzmagic coming in. I think, Fitzmagic is that kind of guy where he's a piece of tape. He just tapes over everything. He doesn't solve the issue. I mean, that's been his whole career. He just comes in, plays, for a year, keeps them in playoff contention, but never gets over that hump. And then next year he's on a different team, or they draft a quarterback that, comes up behind him. So yeah, I have them. And then I have the New York Giants second. I really like what the Giants did in the offseason, loading up that offense, giving Daniel Jones the weapons that he needs. So this is going to be a make or break year for Daniel Jones. If he can't do it with all their offseason acquisitions, then he's probably not made for the league. And then I know this pains Jose, but I got the Dallas Cowboys at third. Hopefully Dak come back healthy and back to his, the insane numbers he was having at the start of last season. But I don't know about their draft. They had so many more positions they could have gone with, but losing who was it, Van Der Esch? Or no, with Sean Lee retiring.
Yeah.
They just basically covered him up with Micah Parsons, and I don't know. I just feel like that wasn't the best. I don't know, for where they were at in the draft. I feel like they could have traded down and got a lot more weapons or more picks. But yeah, I'm excited for them. And then we have the Eagles in last. I mean, I don't really know. I'm excited to see Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, though. I feel like they could be a deadly duo, but I feel like the rest of their team is just not up to par for the other teams in this division.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to Jose. Got a little bit of a different list. All of us pretty unique list. Besides, we're all consensus have the Eagles in last place. But Jose, give your pitch for why your Cowboys are going to be the first team in the NFC East.
The Cowboys are not only going to be the first team, they're going to be the only team with double-digit wins. It's such a slept-on roster. I mean, we got DeMonte KZ and Keanu Neal from the Falcons. KZ, obviously a guy that was leading the league in interceptions. It was either last season or 2 seasons ago. Keanu Neal, a great, linebacker, strong safety hybrid. We've got Trayvon Diggs. We drafted Kelvin Joseph, who's going to play probably like in a nickel role or in dime packages. Jordan Lewis, a guy I'm so excited to say he can finally step up because guys like Chris Richards that we had a few years ago, our DC, just like really held him back because he was all about height, weight, speed. And Jordan Lewis is not that. We drafted Micah Parsons, who I think is basically Jalen Smith 2.0. I mean, at this point, we just got the most athletic linebacker core of all time. And Dak is coming back. Even if our defense is garbage, we will outscore everyone in this division. I mean, we will just outgun them. That's what we were doing last season. We were literally putting up 45 points and giving up 43.
Yeah, but you guys are losing those games. Don't forget.
Don't forget the Falcons come.
You guys were losing those games. I mean, you say you'll score more, but you guys were losing those games last year. So
we were losing some games, but obviously Dak went down. Who knows how we would have finished the season. The defense did step up in the second half. I think it's an improved defense. It's not monumentally improved, but I think it's enough so that we can, hold it down so that let Dak get more time on the field and more time to score. We've still got the best receiving core in the league. We've got this guy, Simi Fehoko. I want him to take reps at tight end. He killed Oregon in the game. He played on Stanford. I really wish, they put him at tight end, but I think they're going to roll with Jarwin or Schultz.
I mean, Schultz did have a good season last year before the Dak injury, but all right, so we'll move on. I got the Giants in first place. I'm really confident about this team. I think Saquon Barkley, he's just a generational type of athlete in a running back way. I think he's going to come back. I don't think he's like top one or whatever, but I think he's got the ability to change, the way this offense works, because even if he doesn't put up big numbers, I think his presence is going to be enough to, make an impact for this team. The one worry I do have for them is their offensive line play, because, Nate Solder's coming back, but Nate Solder hasn't been worth the money for them so far. They got Andrew Thomas at right tackle, but they really don't have a solidified line. According to ESPN on their depth chart, it doesn't even have their former first-round pick, Will Hernandez, even slotted at the left guard position starting. So that worries me a little bit, but I've heard some good things coming out of minicamp that Shane Lamo, I believe that's how you say their left guard, has been playing well. But otherwise, you got Slayton, you got Galladay, you got Shepard, you got Tony, you got Ross, tons of weapons out there for them. And then this defense is one that I really like. You bring back Leonard Williams, even though it was a big deal. He had 11.5 sacks last year. Phenomenal for him. Dexter Lawrence is a great run stuffer. Same with Danny Shelton. So they're running a 3-4. Then they got Lorenzo Carter and Aziz Ojulari, who's one of the more talented rush edges coming out of this draft. Didn't have a lot of production at Georgia, but still. Then Blake Martinez is the tackle god. And then at cornerback, you got James Bradbury, who was locked down last year. Then you got Adoree Jackson, and then Logan Ryan, Jabril Peppers, Xavier McKinney, and Julian Love. So they have a lot of – it's going to be hard for teams to throw on them a lot. I mean, I think a team like the Cowboys is still going to give them trouble, but I think, when you have a team like the Eagles or a Washington football team in the division that doesn't have that like crazy of a receiving core, when they can just focus on, a Terry McLaurin and a Curtis Samuel or Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, it's not going to be too big of a problem for them. But then again, I now have the Cowboys at second, and I'll give my reasons why. Just like Jose said, this team is stacked on offense. It's all about health, though. And I would have them at 1, but until I see them stay healthy, I can't put them at the position. I think year in, year out, they're one of the most talented rosters in the league. And one of the things I would have liked to see them do in the offseason is address the pass rushing position. DeMarcus Lawrence is getting older, and I think they should have added another guy alongside him, to alleviate the pressure and learn from him. I would love to see them, go after one of those guys via trade, see try and pry Von Miller away from the Broncos. I know that he was sort of on the fringe at one point, but otherwise, phenomenal linebacking core. You got Micah Parsons, Van Der Esch, Smith, Cox, and Neal, basically all linebackers. So let's see that. And then just for Washington, I feel like this might be the year that, Fitzmagic doesn't have the magic anymore. I know that's going to be a very, very hot take, but I just don't know if he can do it. This offensive line play is very poor from them as well. They just cut Morgan Moses, their right tackle, who's been starting for them for so long. So really, Brandon Scherf is the only guy on that team that's I think we have confidence in starting for them. Otherwise, a very talented defense, not very talented at the linebacking core, though. Obviously, they drafted Jamin Davis in the first round, so hopefully he pans out. But he was a very raw prospect from Kentucky. So I'll leave it as that. I think the Eagles are self-explanatory. They don't really have a lot of talent to begin with, and no one really has faith in Hurts. But I think we all want to see him succeed, though. Everyone deep down wants to see him play well.
Yeah, I actually really like Hurts. As much as I hate the Eagles, I really like Hurts.
Yeah. I just wanted to succeed. It's been through so much.
Exactly. All right, so we'll move on. Got a lot of talk there. We'll go to the NFC North. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers, the NFC Championship failures over the last couple of years. Raheem Mostert, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. But so we got Chase. You got the Packers in first place, followed by the Vikings, Bears, and Lions. What do you got to say?
With the Packers, it just all depends on if Aaron Rodgers is coming back. I think he is, and I think they're going to give him just a massive, massive contract, hopefully. I don't know. But now that I look back on it, I don't know if this is the right decision, but I'm going to stick with it. Devontae Adams, what else is there to say? He's, probably number 1 best wide receiver in the league. And then, with Rodgers, they didn't bring in any, big time weapons for him. They lost. Oh my gosh, I literally can't think today.
Javonte Williams.
Yeah,
the running back. Yeah.
They lost him. So that means Aaron Jones will have to pick up, what he left out. But yeah, and then the Vikings. I'm excited for this Vikings team. I really like what they did. I really like their backup quarterback, Kellen Mond. I really like him. I think he's going to be a star. I think when Kirk Cousins, when his contract runs out, he's going to come in and I think he's just going to take him to another level. I really, really do like him. And then I have the Bears. Justin Fields, electric. And then they got, oh my gosh, Tevin Jenkins. I really like him. He's a good alignment. And then the Detroit Lions, I don't know if anyone really likes the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to be, bottom 5 teams of the league. They lost Golladay, Jones, basically
Stafford.
They're basically top 3 guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. And then DeAndre Swift, I really like him, but we'll see if he can keep up for those. I think, was it him at the start of the season where he had his first 3 weeks were just absolutely insane?
No, he dropped the catch.
He dropped that catch, and then after he kind of just went down, right?
Yeah, they stopped feeding the ball.
Yeah, so hopefully, if he caught that pass, what knows what might have happened. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, so I think Jose's got a switch here. He's got the Bears in second place. I love to see the Fields' confidence. Hopefully he can break the streak of the Ohio State / Bears quarterbacks who have all been abysmal. So, Jose, I think the Packers are pretty self-explanatory, but if you want, go ahead. And I want to hear what you got to say about these Bears.
Yeah, Packers, if they keep A-Rod, they're running this division. But Bears, I think Fields is going to have a Dak Prescott-esque rookie season. He's going to make mistakes, but he's going to make up for it with his elite athleticism and just, high scoring ability, elite playmaking. He's a guy that's going to run this division once A-Rod leaves. There's no other young quarterbacks in this division. Unless you count Kellen Mond. I think he's gonna break the streak of Ohio State. QBs. Obviously, we've had a lot of guys come through. We had Haskins, we had JT Barrett, we've had so many guys. But Justin Fields is the real deal. I think he's gonna take this Bears team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
If he could do it, bro, Fields can fucking do it.
He's electric.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm worried about, though, is they basically said, bye, Kyle Fuller. I'm just going to cut you for no reason, and didn't really go after a trade, which I think you can at least get like a third-round pick for a guy who's been a Pro Bowl cornerback. But
Yeah.
I think we all rooting for Fields. If you're not rooting for Fields, I don't know what's wrong with you. But, hey, curveball, I got the Vikings taking this division. Just such a crazy team. I mean, just looking at, I think Kirk Cousins is one of the more overhated quarterbacks in this league, just because everyone points to the fact that he can't win a primetime game. But I mean, he proved to it last year that he could do it. So just looking at the team he's got Dalvin Cook, who's obviously a top 3 running back in this league. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson are a dynamic duo. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's the fresh legs out there. But Adam Thielen, one of the more underrated wide receivers, 14 touchdowns last year. Really just doing his role out there, being a great route runner. Then this defense, this offensive line is really solid. Brian O'Neill is a very underrated right tackle, hasn't allowed, I think he's allowed like 2 sacks in his career, something crazy like that. Christian Darrisaw was a very good steal for them, trading down in the draft and still getting the guy that people mocked to them at 14. Then like Wyatt Davis, Ezra Cleveland, and Gary Bradbury, who was their first-round pick last year. And then with Daniil Hunter coming back, I think this defense is going to get a rejuvenation. They got Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants, a very good run-stuffing nose tackle. Then Michael Pierce returns. He didn't play last year. One of the star defensive guys on that Ravens defense a couple years ago. Then this linebacking core is very underrated. They got Anthony Barr, solid guy from UCLA. Eric Hendricks, one of the best coverage linebackers. And Chaz Surratt, former quarterback turned linebacker at UNC, is one of the best coverage guys. And having that quarterback mindset in the backfield, I think, is going to be a very good thing for them. And then Cameron Dantzler is one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. I think a very underrated name because, he wasn't like a top pick or anything like that. And then they still got Jeff Gladney to develop. And, of course, they got Patrick Peterson in the offseason, who I think his veteran presence is going to make such a huge difference for this team. But otherwise, for Green Bay, I can't imagine there's not going to be a problem with Aaron Rodgers, whether he holds out for some sort of period of time or just has frustration, like they lose a close game like week 7 or something and just says, I'm not playing anymore. I'm holding out. He's definitely has that diva in him right now. And it's sad to see because he's one of the most talented quarterbacks of our generation. And then the Bears, I think, if Rodgers' situation goes south, I think the Bears slot into number 2, but there's no way the Packers are going to be worse than the Lions. Like, who's on this Lions team that scares me? I think their offensive line will be solid, with Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and other pieces. Frank Ragnow just became the highest paid center in the league, but nothing really too much else to say. So we'll move on. NFC South. Oh, want to go ahead, Jose?
Listen, bro, rest in peace, Lions fans. Like, if you want to bandwagon any other team for this season, like, you're allowed to. No one's going to ask any questions. Just stop.
100%.
Do you guys think Justin Fields starts week 1? I know we did a video on it, but
I don't think so, but I hope so.
I don't think. I think he might.
At least by week 2.
I think he has this, like, even if he doesn't play well, he has this, like, aura around him of, like, Chicago natives or Chicago Bears fans are, like, just excited. And I feel like the team is going to be excited with him, playing, coming in.
Actually, I need him to play against Jalen Ramsey when Jalen Ramsey gets cooked by Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
Those memes are so funny. But move on to the NFC South, obviously home of the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Consensusly voted number 1 through all of us. But Chase, I think we have everyone's got a little bit of different 2 to 4 rankings. So you'll take it away. You got the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So Tampa Bay's, there's nothing to say. They returned all 22 starters, I think, for this next season. So they're just going to be scary. And then what they got in the draft, it's going to be good. And then I have the Saints at second. I have a question for you. Do you guys think Bridgewater or Taysom Hill starts?
Jameis, you mean?
Or
Amos.
Jameis? Who did I
Everyone
say?
wants Bridgewater.
I
I
said Bridgewater.
want
I'm sorry.
Jameis to start so bad, but I
Yeah.
think Taysom's going to get the start. I think it's Sean
Yeah.
Payton's on some shit, but
I feel like Jameis is just the overall better quarterback.
He's
well, of course.
passer
Yeah.
or pocket presence. Taysom Hill's, I think he's just gonna win the starting job because he's just like got the favor of the coaching staff, and like he's a do-it-all type of guy. He's a competitor, like he's win by any means type of guy. Meanwhile, Jameis is just like, I'm gonna chuck it up there and hope they catch it. And they don't have guys that can catch like that. I mean, unless he's gonna throw 12 slants a game to Michael Thomas, who are you throwing it to out there?
Yeah, and then with Michael Thomas coming back, hopefully all of his problems are fixed off the field, not punching teammates or getting in fights with teammates. So, yeah. And then I have the Falcons. The reason why I have the Saints second is because I just don't feel like the Falcons or the Panthers can challenge them. I don't know. I just feel like if there was any other team in the division, I feel like the Saints would be third. But just because I don't see the Falcons or the Panthers challenging the Saints, that's why I have them at second. Then I got the Falcons in third. I feel like their offense is just too good. There are the trade rumors around Julio. They might trade him. He's probably going to be traded, but I just think their offense is too potent with Kyle Pitts coming in. Just depends on their defense. Their defense was so bad last year. So bad.
And they lost.
Oh, go ahead.
They lost a lot of pieces from an already bad defense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I got the Panthers in fourth. I just don't know. I really want to see Sam Darnold, succeed, but I just don't know if they have the right pieces. I mean, they do have McCaffrey, they do have Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, but I just, did you hear something, Liam?
Oh no, I'm good.
But yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling the Panthers are gonna not tank this year, but they're just not gonna be as good as people think they are this year.
Yeah.
So leave it up to Jose next.
Yeah.
Oh yep.
I completely disagree. I think the Panthers are going to take off next season. I think they're going to show, that they are an up and coming team. Obviously, they've got a great young defense. Last season, they made a rather mediocre QB look like a pretty elite guy for a few weeks in Teddy Bridgewater. And I think Darnold's more talented than Teddy. He just hasn't really had a chance to show that, obviously, under Adam Gase. But now he's got Matt Rule. He's playing the Jets week 1. Man's going to come out and ball. He's pissed. The Panthers, they are going to step up next season. Watch out for the Panthers. As far as the Saints have a really tough schedule. They've got an early bye week, and then they play 12 weeks in a row or 11 weeks in a row. And also their QB situation's going to haunt them all season, because as soon as Taysom starts to struggle, and he will struggle, they're going to throw Jameis in there, and then eventually Jameis will struggle. And it's a mess right now. I don't know if Sean Payton's cut out for it. I could see him having a complete mental breakdown during the season, and this team falling apart, kind of like the Steelers last season. And as far as the Falcons, I think Matt Ryan's going to have a somewhat comeback season. It wasn't too great last season, but he's a former MVP, and he's a guy who can still do it, and a guy who's gonna have new weapons. I mean, he's got Kyle Pitts, the most electric tight end that we've ever seen. So I don't know. And they also signed Mike Davis, whose legs are insane. Did you guys see
Saquon
my God.
Barkley.
I think they're bigger than Saquon's, dude.
I was gonna say he's got the quad title.
They're
Sorry,
massive.
Najee Harris.
Yeah.
They're massive.
Yeah. But I would not be surprised if the Bucks struggle at some points.
You think?
We'll see. They're bringing back in the entire same team, so it's not like they gotta change their scouting for them.
Yeah.
They know what they're working with. I wouldn't say they know how to beat them, but if you see all this film on them, like you can find ways, and there's enough talented defensive coordinators out there to figure out how to tackle this offense. I think. I mean, I don't specifically see a defense in this division. Maybe the Panthers or the Saints could do some work. Probably more the Saints because they're more of a veteran team. But I think I like the Panthers pieces better. But it's going to be hard to stop this rain. So, well, Jose and I have the same exact list. So I'll just add my points onto there. For the Saints, they still need to address the wide receiver 2 position. Traquan Smith is like the most like up and down wide receiver ever, especially in fantasy. I'll start him 1 week and I'll be like, okay, he's got to break out. I start him like 3 weeks in a row. I bench him and then he has like 20 points. I'm like, what's with this guy? And then, I mean, otherwise they got Deontay Harris, who's a special teamer, Marquez Callaway. Okay, who's that? And then they got Michael Thomas. And then Adam Troutman, the rookie from last year, who had like the only thing that he was notable for was having a good like PFF like run blocking grade. So so they got Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara really are the only 2 receiving threats, and Kamara catches his passes negative 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. So it's a little interesting team. I think this defense is still going to be a solid, one. Marcus Lattimore is still going to own Mike Evans every single time they go against each other. The linebacking core is a little shaky, and hopefully Marcus Davenport can develop into a pass rusher, which Trey Henderson was able to do last year, breaking out with 13.5 sacks. But for the Panthers, though, just such a nice offseason for them, getting one of the more underrated pass rushers in the league, Hassan Reddick, who his numbers were a little inflated since he had like 5 sacks in one game versus the Giants and just ended Daniel Jones's career almost. But still, Arizona's never really used him in the correct role. Now that he's going to be playing, edge in a 4-3 defense, I think it's going to be good for him. Hopefully, Jeremy Chin continues to take another step, a guy who easily, if Chase Young was not in that draft class, was going to win Rookie of the Year for defense. J.C. Horn, I think we're all rooting for. A.J. Boye is going to be suspended for the beginning of the season, but he will be playing for them, a solid veteran cornerback who also has playoff experience playing on that Saxonville team a couple years ago. And then Dante Jackson's a very talented corner as well, very fast corner. But, I mean, the Bucs are the Bucs. Honestly, they were able to acquire the greatest kicker in college football last year in Jose from the Miami Hurricanes. So props to them, but they'll probably start Ryan Suckup, Mr. Irrelevant. So we'll just move on to I think it might be our last division. We got the NFC West. Obviously, I think you could change up this order anyway, and you can make an argument for anything. Like you could have the Rams in last. You could have Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals last. No one's going to say anything about it because these teams all very well could win, 9 games and up. And which is, I think they all actually know. The Niners won seven or 6 last year, but injury riddled. So one of these teams is going to fall victim to injury, unfortunately, because I mean, there's no way they all stay healthy and just have the most competitive division of all time. But without further ado, Chase, I hand it away. You got the Rams acquired Matthew Stafford this offseason at first. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, they got Matthew Stafford. They got their guy. I think he's just going to take them to another level. It feels like that was the one piece they were missing for so long. They drafted Jared Goff first overall, and he didn't pan out the way they wanted him to. But, they get a proven veteran, one of probably the most underrated. I don't even know if you can call him underrated because that's what everyone calls him. But one of the best, I'd say, Matthew Stafford. And then I got the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like young, up-and-coming team, Kyler Murray. They did lose Larry Fitz to wait, didn't he retire?
Not yet.
Swear. I just could have sworn he retired.
Everyone thinks he has, but he hasn't.
Yeah. Or he was out of contract, right?
He is out of the contract, yes.
That was it. Okay. Never mind. So, I guess they did lose him, but
he's minus 250 to retire before the start of the season, according to Vegas Sportsbook. Yeah.
Damn, bro, I'm putting my money on that.
I didn't even know they had a bets for that.
Hey, lock of the year, everyone. Go on, put your entire bankroll, take a mortgage out of your house. We're putting minus 50. We're changing the line for Vegas. I mean, you got to go quickly before it becomes minus 10K. So,
yeah. I got the Arizona Cardinals. They drafted, Isaiah Simmons replacement, or not really, but they got the guy out of Tulsa, right?
Zaven Collins, yeah.
Yeah, Zayvon Collins. And then I'm hopefully Isaiah Simmons steps up this year. I mean, he's like he could play anywhere. He play, safety, linebacker. I feel like he has to step up for them to be a great team. And then I got the Niners. I feel like the Niners, they got their guy in Trey Lance. I think they're gonna start Jimmy G. But I think Jimmy G is gonna get hurt again. I think Trey Lance is gonna come in. It's gonna be, good. But I don't know. This division's so hard. It can go either way. I feel like I don't see the Niners going up to second. I feel like they're either going to be third or fourth. Just depends on how the injuries go or how they play. But yeah. And then I have the Seahawks in last place and fourth. But yeah, I mean, what was that whole deal? It was like a week where Russell Wilson was like, I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. What was that all about? I don't understand that.
Just chatter.
Yeah, just miscommunications, disagreements with the coaching staff. They like to scapegoat Russell Wilson as the problem in Seattle, but I don't think it is. I really think it's Pete Carroll.
Yeah, but he didn't sign a new contract. He did like a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, he's
Carroll?
on still.
No, Wilson.
Oh, Russell? Yeah, he's still on a contract.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think I don't know, man. This division, it can literally go for like a whole different number of ways. Each team can be at one, or each team can be, either position. So I'm gonna leave it up to Jose. But I know this is Liam's division because he's 49ers fan. But yeah.
Yeah. The Cardinals, I really believe in them next season. I think they're going to pull it out for an entire season. We saw Kyler Murray come out guns blazing last year. Had a great connection with Hopkins until Hopkins faced a guy who is now on the Rams. I mean, they added J.J. Watt. They've still got one of the most underrated pass rushers in Chandler Jones. They got Zayvon Collins. They still got Budda Baker. They still have Byron Murphy, a former first-round pick. They signed AJ Green. I don't know if he's really going to be out there taking reps, but they still got Christian Kirk. Their running back situation's a little shaky. They got James Conner and Chase Edmonds, but I think Kyler Murray is going to really put it together next season and take them to the promised land. But the Rams are going to be right there with them. The Rams, I really expect them to take a leap offensively and really round out their run game, really figure out, that they need to hand the ball to Cam Akers. But the Seahawks, I'm not even going to touch on the Niners. I'm going to let you handle that one, Liam. But the Seahawks right now remind me of like the Antonio Brown Steelers, where they're just a like reality TV show of drama. Because I mean, there's so many big egos and personalities on that team still. And it's gonna take a toll on their production on the field. I just can't really see them getting back to their form from a couple years ago. Obviously, they always start off the season really well, but we saw how fragile they were last season and how fast things fell apart. So,
all right. So we'll move on to my list. Honestly, I got the Niners the highest, and we all consensusly have the Seahawks at fourth in this division. But I think there's, like I said in the beginning, there's a case for any team, but just for the Rams team, the number one defense last year, they did lose John Johnson and Troy Hill, which I think will drop them down to, the lower end of the top 10 of the defenses. But when you have maybe the best defensive player of all time, very hot take, but I think you got to have an argument for him at this point. With Aaron Donald, there's nothing that they can't do. So you got to have the Rams up there. I think Cooper Kupp is going to be the guy that has a breakout season this year. A very talented slot receiver who, now playing alongside Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods, everyone has their eye on, but that's where the cornerbacks are going to attack on. But I think Cooper Kupp is just such a good route runner. And we saw what he did, in Goff's breakout season. And now he's got Matthew Stafford. Everyone says, oh, he doesn't throw underneath these guys. wait, this kid's going to go off. I got feeling for it. Then with the 49ers, obviously we were able to draft Colin Coward's daughter's boyfriend, Trey Lance, with the 3rd overall pick. And I think we got one of the best running back rooms in the league. We got Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Trey Sermon, and Wayne Gallman, which, I'll say one of the best running back rooms in the league because we had one of the best running schemes in the league. I think all these guys are super talented. Obviously, Wayne Gallman filled in really nicely for Saquon Barkley last year. Jeff Wilson had a phenomenal end of the season, and Raheem Mostert is the fastest running back in the league when healthy. Then this wide receiver core is the only place I have question marks. I don't know if Ayuk or Debo is going to be, who can stand out. But when we have George Kittle to be our number one basically option out of the receiving core, I think we're safe there. I love what they did to the offensive line this offseason. Adding Alex Mack, who I think is going to be a great veteran, and he has, passed with Shanahan. Shanahan worked with him when he was on that Falcons team that made it to the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I think it's a very good, there's no line. There's a very good defense. Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa are going to be their main pass rushers with newly acquired former Ram Samson Ebukam, who's still a really young player, but, showed signs in that Chiefs-Rams game a couple years ago that he's going to be a good defender someday. So I'd say my question mark in the for the offense for the Niners would be their offense. What would be their wide receivers on offense, but the cornerbacks are a little suspect for me on defense, which I think could be a problem. But I love what we've seen out of Diomordor Lenore, former Oregon Duck, a guy that I've heard deserves a lot more praise than what he got at Oregon. Was a very good coverage guy, but playing in the Pac-12 as a cover corner, you don't really see a lot of them get too much praise, since the knock on them is always it's the Pac-12. They're not playing this good competition. But just to wrap it up, you got Fred Warner, top 3 linebacker in this league. First team All-Pro last year. Dre Greenlaw's could be taking a step, but hopefully we see a step out of another guy coming in there to fill that role that we lost with Quan Alexander's trade last year. And then just wrapping it up with the rest of these teams this league, Arizona Cardinals, they're going to have the number one and they're going to have the best pass rushing duo in the league with Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. I think J.J. Watt, even though had an off season for him last year, he's going to take a step, having a guy alongside with Chandler Jones who's going to take pressure off him. And then the Seahawks, like you guys said, it's a reality TV show at this point. DK Metcalf is a very talented wide receiver, and I think he'll put up similar numbers. But this running game, there's always injuries going to Chris Carson, and then Rashawn Penny isn't really a true running back. And then the defense, they lose Shaquille Griffin, so that's going to be really hard for them because it's going to put more pressure on Jamal Adams to deliver in coverage, who I think last year was scheme-wise why he wasn't able to do well, but we'll have to see a bigger improvement out of him for next season. So that wraps up all 8 of our divisions. Does anyone have anything else to say about the NFC West before we conclude this episode?
I have a. I think I read a stat. It was like, Chandler Jones and JJ were the top 2. Like they had the most sacks and pressures since
like one of them entered the league, I think.
Yeah, since like I forget what year it was, but it was those 2 and then Aaron Donald behind them. So those 2 together would be scary.
Yep.
I hope they do well. I like to see JJ Watt do well. So
there's gonna be some great division games. I think everyone's gonna want to tune into this year, division, because there's too much talent, especially if you get Trey Lance out there. You're going to have 4 very electric quarterbacks out there. Jimmy G is really just a game manager at this point. There's really no progression we're going to see from him. But, Kyler Murray, super flashy, obviously Russell Wilson, and then I think Matt Stafford's going to be on display playing in the bright lights of Los Angeles next season. So
do you guys think this is the toughest division? Do you think that is?
100%.
Yeah.
This and then I think maybe the AFC West. Besides the Raiders, I think those 3 teams are going to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Do you guys think they all go above 500?
One team's going to fail.
You think one team is? The Seahawks?
Yeah. Who knows? Seahawks or Niners if they get hurt.
Yeah. It just all depends on who's healthy.
Bro, Trey Lance is literally Kelly Oubre of the NFL.
Hey,
Like light skin.
I can back that. You see, Kelly Oubre's having a kid.
Yeah. Hey,
All
I
the
know
people-
Jordan pulled ball last night though.
Hey, that game was great, bro.
That game
Shout
was
out
crazy.
LeBron. I just dropped my jaw when that happened.
Yeah.
But-
You dropped your drawers.
But hey, did you guys see the Drake meme about it though? Where it was
Yeah.
like that thing was cold.
And
It was
it
like-
sounds like a Drake line too.
It was like vision blurry, like I'm LeBron shooting over Curry. Like that was
He
funny
said
to
he
watch.
was seeing 3 rims and he just aimed for the middle one. Like,
Yeah.
bro.
You see the video of when he first got hit? He was like the look up in the stars. That was so funny to me.
Draymond was so intentional.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, obviously, there's tons of playoff basketball going on right now. Obviously, we've got the Warriors. They're going to be playing the Grizzlies tomorrow night, and I believe tonight we're going to have the play-in for the Wizards versus the Pacers. You know, we got to see Brody go out, show what he's made of. You know, show that he's not just a triple-double guy, that he can actually win games. So, hopefully, everyone's tuned into that. But otherwise, we'll be back with more content. Obviously, we got Sunday Talk coming up. So, this is Coast to Coast Podcast. Obviously, Chase, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you.
We love
guys.
having you, of course. So we are signing out. Peace.